Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Dr. Anna Schneider, your back pain warrior with over 20 years of experience helping people just like you reclaim their bodies. Let me ask you something right off the bat. Have you ever felt like your lower back is holding you hostage? Maybe you've been told it's just part of aging, or worse, that you're stuck with it forever, like a life sentence you didn't sign up for. Well, I'm here to tell you, that's a lie. And today, I'm pulling back the curtain on a game-changing truth about back pain that could set you free. Picture this: you're bending down to tie your shoes, picking up your kid, or even just sitting at your desk, and that familiar twinge hits. It's frustrating, isn't it? I get it, I've seen it in my patients, and I've felt it myself after years of wear and tear. But here's the kicker: what if I told you that the way we've been taught to protect our backs might actually be making them weaker? That's right, there's a hidden gap in how we approach back pain, and it's time to flip the script. Today, I'm diving deep into the science of your spine, sharing practical steps you can start right now, and lighting a fire under you to take back control. You're not fragile. You're not broken. You're a powerhouse waiting to rise. So grab a coffee, get comfy, and let's journey together toward a stronger, pain-free you. Stick around, I've got exercises, stories, and a call to action that'll make you want to shout your city's name in the comments. Let's do this. Section 1: The Back Pain Myth, Why Protecting Isn't Enough. Let's start with a truth bomb: your lower back isn't the fragile little snowflake we've been led to believe it is. For years, I've watched patients come into my clinic, some in their 20s, some in their 60s, convinced that once they hurt their back, it's game over. They've been told to baby it, avoid bending, and live in this bubble of caution. And I get it, it's scary when that pain hits. I've had my own battles with back stiffness after long days in the or chasing my kids around. But here's where the science shakes things up: overprotecting your back doesn't save it, it sets you up for a cycle of breakdown and despair. Think about it like this: your spine is a masterpiece of engineering. It's got 33 vertebrae stacked like building blocks, cushioned by discs that act like shock absorbers, and wrapped in a network of muscles that hold it all together. The lower back, the lumbar spine, takes the brunt of your daily moves: sitting, standing, lifting, twisting. But here's the catch: when you injure it, whether it's a blown disc from squatting too heavy, like I've seen in some of my gym-loving patients, or just wear and tear over time, the standard advice is to focus on your core. You know the drill: planks, crunches, maybe some oblique twists. Sound familiar? Now, don't get me wrong, those exercises are great for your abs and sides. They stabilize you, and I love a good plank as much as the next doc. But here's the gap I've seen in my practice: we obsess over the front and sides of the core, the abs, the obliques, the deep transverse abdominis, and totally neglect the back of the core. I'm talking about the spinal erectors, those long muscles running along your spine, and the tiny segmental muscles that hug each vertebra. These are the unsung heroes keeping you upright, and when they're weak, your lower back becomes the weak link in your armor. I've had patients tell me, "Dr. Anna, I've never hurt my abs or my obliques, it's always my back." And that's because we've been missing the mark. The culture around back pain says, protect it, don't touch it, let it rest. But in my experience, that's like locking your car in the garage and never driving it, it rusts. Your back doesn't need a padded cell, it needs strength, blood flow, and a chance to rebuild. Here's where it gets real: studies show that up to 80% of people will experience back pain at some point. And for many, it's not the initial injury that keeps them down, it's the aftermath. The muscles atrophy, the fascia, that connective tissue wrapping your body, gets stiff and sticky, and suddenly, you're more vulnerable than ever. I've seen it in young athletes who tweaked their back deadlifting, and in retirees who just bent over to garden. The story's the same: they feel disempowered, lost, and hopeless. But you know what? You're not alone in this, and you're not doomed. I've spent decades digging into the science and working with patients to bridge this gap. And today, I'm handing you the keys to unlock your back's potential. So, tell me in the comments, have you ever felt like your back pain defines you? Let's unpack that together. Section 2, the core reimagined, a 360-degree powerhouse. Okay, let's reframe how we see the core. Forget the six-pack abs for a sec, though they're nice to have, right? In sports medicine, we talk about the core as the stabilizing force, like the center of an apple protecting the spine and organs. And that's true. But too often, we focus only on the front, abs, and the sides, obliques and deeper stabilizers, while ignoring the back wall of this core barrel. Imagine your core as a 360-degree cylinder. You've got the front with your rectus abdominis, those sit-up muscles. You've got the sides with obliques and transverse abdominis, hugging you like a corset. But then, there's the back, the spinal erectors and those tiny multifidus muscles that weave between each vertebra. These are the guardians of your spine, keeping you tall and steady. When they're strong, they're like an internal back brace. When they're weak, you're a house of cards waiting to topple. In my practice, I've seen this over and over. Patients with chronic low back pain who've done all the right core exercises, planks, bird dogs, you name it, but still feel fragile. Why? Because we've left the back muscles out of the equation. And here's the science behind it. Research shows that after a back injury, these posterior core muscles can shut down. They atrophy from disuse, and the fascia around them stiffens, locking you into a vulnerable state. Meanwhile, your abs might be rock solid, but your back's still screaming. Let me paint a picture from my own life. Years ago, I was juggling long shifts and motherhood, lifting toddlers, bending over exam tables, and my lower back started aching. I thought, okay, Anna, tighten that core. I did my planks, my crunches, but the pain lingered. It wasn't until I started targeting those spinal erectors and deep stabilizers that I felt a shift. It was like waking up a sleeping giant in my body. Now, here's the empowering part, you can do this too. You don't need fancy equipment or a gym membership, just your body, a little patience, and a willingness to reconnect with your back. The secret? Gradual, intentional strengthening that respects your tissue's tolerance. We're not blasting through pain here, we're building a bridge to resilience. So, what's your core story? Are you an ab workout champ who's still hurting, or have you avoided moving altogether? Drop it in the comments, I'm dying to hear where you're at. Section 3, the right way to strengthen your back, slow and steady wins. Alright, let's get practical. How do we strengthen this neglected back wall without overdoing it? The key is gradual progression, think of it like turning a dial, not flipping a switch. I've seen too many patients push too hard, too fast, and end up in a flare-up. That's not your fault, it's just that no one's taught us how to listen to our backs. But I'm here to change that. First, let's talk principles. Your lower back's been through a lot, maybe a disc injury, sciatica, or just years of sitting. Those spinal erectors and tiny stabilizers? They're like muscles you haven't talked to in ages. If you've ever done bicep curls and felt that satisfying pump, you know what muscle activation feels like. But with your back, especially after injury, that connection's fuzzy. It's sensitive, and it's cautious. So we start small, way smaller than you might think. One of my favorite starting points is the isometric hold. Here's how it works, lie face down on a mat, arms by your sides, and gently lift your chest off the ground, just an inch or two, squeezing those spinal erectors. Hold it for 10 to 30 seconds, breathing deeply, staying relaxed. That's it. Doesn't look like much, right? But for someone with chronic pain, this could be a revelation or a challenge. The next day, check in, any pain? If not, you've just made a deposit in your back bank. If yes, dial it back. This is about tissue tolerance, training to the edge of what your most fragile tissue can handle, not your strongest muscle. I tell my patients, you're not chasing a PR here, you're building trust with your body. Over weeks, you might hold longer, say, a minute, or add a slight range of motion. Eventually, you could progress to a Roman chair, where you anchor your legs and hold your torso parallel to the ground. It's simple, but it's powerful. Let me share a story. I had a patient, Mike, a 35-year-old dad who blew out his disc lifting weights. For years, he avoided anything that moved his back, terrified of re-injury. When he came to me, he could barely hold that prone lift for 10 seconds without panicking. We started slow, 10 seconds, then 20, then a minute. 8 months later? He's doing full back extensions with ease, chasing his kids without fear. That's the magic of gradual deposits. Now, here's a pro tip: pair this with deep breathing. When you're tense, your nervous system's in fight or flight mode, and that amps up pain sensitivity. Breathe slow and steady, inhale for 4, exhale for 6, and you're telling your body, we're safe. Over time, you're not just building muscle, you're pumping blood to your discs, loosening fascia, and even easing nerve irritation. What about sciatica? Oh, I've been there with patients. Nerve pain's a beast. The trick is working the whole path: spine, glutes, hamstrings. Start with gentle glute bridges or leg slides to wake up those muscles without poking the bear. No pushing through pain, let it guide you. So, here's my challenge: try that prone hold this week. How long can you go without discomfort? Pop your answer in the comments, I'll cheer you on. Section 4. The long game, building your own back brace. Now, let's talk longevity. Strengthening your back isn't a quick fix, it's a 2-year journey for most chronic pain warriors. But hear me out, those 2 years could give you decades of freedom. I'm not here to sell you a 6-week miracle, I'm here to build you a foundation that lasts. Think of your spinal erectors as your body's natural back brace. When they're strong, they take pressure off your discs, stabilize your vertebrae, and protect you from life's curveballs, whether it's lifting groceries or hitting the tennis court. But getting there takes patience. After months of holds, you might add range, like a half-back extension on a Roman chair, bending slightly at the hips. Give it 8 weeks, and you could go deeper, even inverting to decompress your spine. Decompression's a buzzword, right? Hanging upside down or using traction feels amazing. It spaces out your discs, relieves pressure. But here's what I've learned: strength is what locks in that relief. As you rebuild those small muscles, multifidus, rotators, you're recompressing your spine with control. It's like piecing a puzzle back together, vertebra by vertebra. I had a patient, Sarah, in her 50s, who'd given up hiking after years of sciatica. She started with 10-second holds, progressed to extensions, and 2 years later, she's summiting trails, pain-free. She told me, "Dr. Anna, I feel like I built my own armor." That's the goal: your back becomes your shield. And the benefits? Oh, they're endless. Stronger muscles mean better blood flow, which nourishes your discs. You're stretching fascia, reducing scar tissue that tugs on nerves. Even hip alignment improves. Say goodbye to that lopsided squat. I've seen it transform whole bodies, not just backs. So, where do you want your back to take you in 2 years? Hiking? Dancing? Share your dream in the comments, let's dream big together. Section 5. Overcoming setbacks, Flare UPS are teachers. Let's get real, this journey isn't all sunshine. You might overdo it and wake up sore. I've been there, pushed too hard after a long day and paid the price. But here's the silver lining: flare-ups aren't failures, they're feedback. When you cross that tissue tolerance line, your back says, "Whoa, slow down." It's not fun, but it's useful. It shows you your current capacity. Most people avoid all back sensation, good or bad, until a random tweak reminds them they're vulnerable. I say, meet your back where it's at. Feel it, learn from it, adjust. If you flare up, rest, ice it, and scale back. Maybe drop from 30 seconds to 15. It's not a step back, it's a recalibration. I've had patients who've crossed that line, felt the sting, and then used it to fine-tune their progress. It's like finding the edge of a map: you don't fall off, you just redraw the route. Here's my ask: if you've had a setback, what did it teach you? Drop it in the comments, your story could inspire someone else. Wow, we've covered a lot, haven't we? From busting the protect forever myth to building your own back brace, you've got the tools now. I'm so proud of you for sticking with me. This isn't just about pain relief, it's about reclaiming your power. You're not a victim of your back, you're its architect. Here's your homework: start small this week. Try that prone hold, listen to your body, and track how it feels. Then come back here and tell me, how did it go? What's your city or country? I want to shout you out, whether you're in New York, Tokyo, or a tiny town I've never heard of. Let's build a global crew of back pain warriors. If you love this, smash that like button, it tells me you want more. Subscribe if you haven't, I've got tons of tips coming your way. And share this with someone who needs it, your friend, your mom, your gym buddy. Let's spread the hope. I'll leave you with this: your back's been waiting for you to show up for it. You've got the science, the steps, and the spirit. So go out there, start small, and build big. I believe in you. See you in the comments.